Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as Chair of the Board, I welcome you to this July 5th, 2023 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our office coordinator, Erin Smith, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how you may participate remotely. Erin.
Thanks, Chair Fuller. There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's board meeting, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you're joining us virtually and are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our communications manager will help you troubleshoot. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the next few days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table near the front door, and it is also posted on our website. And now I'll turn it over to Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Erin. I now call this July 5th, 2023 regular meeting to order and ask Erin to call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Present.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Present.
And Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Present.
The following directors are also in attendance: Managing Director Cheryl Siddle, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Matt McDonald, Director of Operations Adam Lape, and Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Thanks, Erin. Please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, Erin, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, the agenda is approved unanimously as presented. Next, we have two sets of minutes to approve. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of June 20th, 2023, appearing on pages 3 through 25 of the packet?
So moved. Support.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, Erin, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The minutes of the June 20th regular board meeting are accepted as presented. May I now have a motion to accept the working session minutes of June 20th, 2023 as presented on pages 26 and 27 of the packet?
Madam Chair, I move to accept the working session minutes of June 2023 as presented.
Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, Erin?
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs,
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The working session minutes from June 20th are approved as presented. Next, we have public comment, which is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Erin will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments. Erin.
Thanks, Chair Fuller. Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For virtual attendees, we have provided some instructions on the screen on how to participate and make public comment. If you're attending this meeting virtually and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand now. If you dialed into the meeting from your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. Our communications manager will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time and will announce your username or last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. And then for in-person attendees, we will start with those who have signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to make comment. I'll notify you when it is your turn.
Thank you. Are there any hands raised or has anyone signed in wishing to address the board?
Yes. In person.
In person, sir, please approach the microphone. All right, and if you would identify yourself, should you choose to do so.
So my name is Aaron Cohen, and appreciate you having me today. I'd like to express my deep disappointment and frustration regarding the lack of transparency and accountability surrounding the proposed relocation of Stabler Road. As a member of this community, I believe it's essential for public officials to engage in open dialogue and involve residents in decisions with developers and other parties that directly impact our daily lives. The decision-making process should prioritize clear communication channels, timely information sharing, and opportunities for meaningful public input. Unfortunately, this plan that was put forth seems to have fallen short in these regards. There's a lack of transparency that has left many of us feeling unheard and excluded from the important decisions that affect our neighborhood. Transparency, of course, fosters trust and allows for a more informed and engaged community, which we are and we're not. It empowers us to contribute our insights, concerns, and suggestions, ultimately leading to better decisions that reflect the collective well-being and aspirations of the county, this road commission, and our residents. I respectfully request that the road commission takes immediate steps to improve transparency and accountability in this matter by actively involving our community and addressing our concerns so that we can work together towards a solution that benefits all of us that are involved. And I appreciate your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Aaron.
Sure, thanks.
Are there others who wish to address the board? Our Aaron.
Not at this time.
Too many Aarons. I know they're spelled differently. Thanks, bye.
Not at this time.
Okay, all right. Then we will move on to written communications appearing on pages 28 through 40 of the packet. I'd like to point out that on page 32, we received notice that we are going to receive a premium discount and refund of over $49,000 from the County Road Association's self-insurance fund, which is our worker comp carrier. Commissioners, anything you wish to draw our attention to or point out? Commissioner Yamas.
I was going to,
Number, please.
page number is on page 30
Okay.
of this great news.
Mhm.
I wanted to point out that let me see, where did I read it? I should have highlighted this, that we have received a premium 40 dividends 42 times out of 45 years of operating this group fund, which is excellent for our commission and other commissions also, and what great news this is for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioner comments?
Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
McCollum.
Yes, I too want to comment on page 30 of receiving the funds for the safety that the staff and organization has been doing. It just shows that, makes me feel good because we're doing something to keep people safe. So I appreciate that. And congratulations on the staff and everyone that's worked so hard to make this happen. Thank you.
Further comments from commissioners? All right. We will move on to our next item, commissioner comment and staff follow-up to Mr. Cohen's remarks. Anyone want to address that? Does our managing director want to speak to that? Do you have staff that wants to speak to that?
Certainly, Matt McDonnell, our Director of Engineering, actually attended a public meeting last week specifically related to this project. So I'm sure Matt's happy to at least share a little input.
Yes, Matt McDonnell, Director of Engineering. I attended the public information meeting for the Park and Stabler road improvements related to the Trailwoods development. I shared with you kind of an update and background at last meeting. At the public meeting, it was run by the developer and his engineer, basically giving residents and folks that live in the development and also in the area, an opportunity to kind of understand the background and history. Obviously, there was not good communication from the developer to the home builders to the residents on what was the expectation and the permit requirements and things that were agreed to in the road improvement agreement PUD. So there was a lot of anxiety and anxiousness and frustration overall. And I think Aaron, who was here just a moment ago, is an HOA board member there. And but ultimately the developer has full control until they're done building homes, essentially. We are at a pause for those road improvements. Scioto Township issued a email to the developer ceasing all those involved, meaning outside agencies, including the road commission, stating that these improvements that have an impact on the site plan and therefore an approval needs to be granted for the changes by the township.
By the township.
By the township. That was from Doug Lawan, the township planner.
Okay.
So the developer, after our meeting on Thursday night, recently, just today, emailed the township requesting a meeting to meet with the township to discuss what their thoughts are as far as what needs to be approved and what that process would look like. So ultimately, our takeaway from the public meeting, I did attend along with Mark McCullough, who's overseeing permits for that project. I did introduce myself to the public, answered a few questions, provided some background to supplement what was being presented by the developer, and also to make sure that folks knew that we were in the room and could be a resource as well for questions and answers. So my expectation is that we will get together with Scioto Township, that we will get an invitation because obviously it impacts the road improvements, and that we will come to an understanding what that process is. And then ultimately it's up to the developer to go through that process, because as a condition of permit, all the outside agencies permits must be in hand. So if there is an indication, which there is from SIO, that they need an approval, then the developer has to get that approval. So to be determined when the schedule of work is going to happen. Obviously, we're anxious for those improvements to happen, but ultimately, the developer's got to satisfy the township requirements.
So what was the date of this public information center session? June 29th, I think?
Yeah, last Thursday.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
It was
So
in
on
the
June
evening.
29th, and it was at Scioto Township?
Scioto Township, 6:30 was the start time.
Okay.
Got home about 9.
And do I understand correctly, Matt, that one of the permit conditions of ours is that the township has signed off on
All
the-
outside agencies must sign off on the improvements. So doesn't say specifically the township, but all governmental agencies, drain office, Eagle, which the developer did get permits from drain office and Eagle. They just did not secure approval for the site plan changes.
From,
Scioto Township,
so the ball is in Scioto Township's court
correct.
on this matter. Okay, how many people attended, do you estimate, Matt?
It was in their township board meeting and there was no chairs to spare. So it was definitely over 30 or 40.
Okay, okay. So it's all paused. We don't move until Scioto Township gives a green light
Correct.
and has decided on the conditions that they're willing to live with.
Yep.
Okay, okay.
I
Commissioners,
will provide the board an update when a meeting gets scheduled and if there's any more clarity on what the township requirements are.
okay, I just want it to be clear, this is Scioto Township's, it was in their township hall, and the session was convened by the developer and his engineer.
Correct.
Okay, so it wasn't our info session.
Right. We had requested it be scheduled and held because of the lack, very clearly there was a lack of communication with those residents. So we said, you need to hold a public information meeting.
Okay,
So that was our direction to the developer.
very good. I think I saw some hands, Commissioner Yamas and then Commissioner Green, and I'll call on everybody. We'll see where we go. Commissioner Yamas.
So the developer did not inform Scioto Township of the site changes, correct?
That's my understanding.
So in this case, if they choose to, if Scioto. So the question I have is if Scioto Township does not accept the site plan changes, and there is a request to change them back to what the residents want. Do all the government agencies have to, at that time again, sign new permits? Will it start the process all over?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Nice, concise answer. Commissioner Green.
Do you happen to know the basis for the suggestion that there's a lack of transparency on the part of the road commission?
I think residents were surprised by these road improvements, almost getting started. Because they weren't informed by the developer or the home builder, that these improvements were happening. So they were surprised in that manner. And the road commission ultimately, we do our weekly road schedule, that was notified that these roads were gonna happen. But there was no public information meeting, because it ultimately, when it comes through a developer and a site plan approval process, that land use decision is very publicly vetted through the township's planning commission and board. We, through that process, negotiated a road improvement agreement, and it was very much acknowledged that these road improvements were going to take place. In fact, there were several residents that did not live in the development that made the statements publicly. We were very aware that these road improvements were going to happen. It comes as no surprise to us. In fact, we understand your frustration, folks of Trailwoods. However, we would really much like to see this thing move forward as is. So that was refreshing that at least the public at large and the residents in the area were aware of this. Now, granted, this all occurred via 2016. So it was very public knowledge in 2016. Well, those folks didn't live there then. And the way the road improvements were crafted, it was a phased development, as I kind of went through last board meeting. So that's where I think is the disconnect. And so, to be fair, those residents were not informed, did not have knowledge, and are frustrated, as was Mr. Cohen. And I now have Mr. Cohen's information. I will continue and stay vigilant in giving him updates so that there is clear transparency. So we've connected on a number of occasions. In fact, we spoke at the public information meeting at length, and we'll continue to keep him informed so that he can keep his neighborhood informed, as he is one of the board members.
Was that history pointed out to the residents?
Yes.
So that they know that that disconnect was not our responsibility nor our fault?
That was my intent in being at the meeting, was to lay the facts out as we know them.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCollum.
Oh, I just want to say, thank you to the resident, Mr. Colin, for his comments and his concerns, and all the other residents that are involved in this. Thank you.
Commissioner Schmers.
My question was answered by Rob's question. So
All
thank
right.
you.
Managing Director, do you have anything you want to add?
Only that staff will continue to keep the board updated as this thing moves forward.
And I'm hoping we have a lot of people signed up for project updates on this.
Yes, we can
Particular.
certainly encourage that, and we might want to consider even making a project page for a unique permit project. So I think that'd be a good idea. I'll get with Tiffany.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
Commissioner Yamas, I'm sorry,
Oh,
don't
it's
go
okay.
away, Matt. Commissioner
worries.
Yamas.
So your intent was to be there. Do you think the public received that information? Or they still view the
I
road
think,
commission as not being transparent?
I think folks were digesting what was received, and obviously when it's something you're upset about, it takes some time to sort through all the things that are being told to you from the developer side and the road commission side, and hearing and trying to sort things out. So I think the message was conveyed at the public information meeting, and that it served its purpose, and we'll see what the township requirements bring. If it brings a change to the project, then as you indicated, we'd have to go through not only our permitting process, Eagle's permitting process, and the Drain Commission or Water Resource Commissioner's permitting process. So, but there could be other things that were mentioned at the meeting. It could be as simple as, all right, we're going to do another berm or landscaping to amend the site plan, and then the improvements can move forward. But that process to get through the approval at the site plan may take some time, so we may not see things happen this construction season, would be my fear.
Okay, well, thank you for going.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, local government is very confusing. And I think most residents don't understand really, nor should they. I mean, that you've got the complications of townships making land use decisions, things like the site plan itself and any changes to it. Then you, in this case, you have the county road commission who has jurisdiction over the roads and the changes to that to support the site that was approved by, or was going through the approval processes at the township level. So, and then you bring in the other entities like Matt referenced, like the drain office or Eagle. It's very complicated. And most people don't understand all those different nuances. As long as the services that they expect to happen are happening, why would they understand these things? So some of this is also frankly an educational opportunity for us and for the township to just explain how those decisions are made. And especially ones that were made in 2015, 2016. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Right. There are lots of residents there now that weren't there then, as you pointed out.
Yes.
And the board of the township
Has
and its
changed.
planning commission has had significant changes since then too. So this was all pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So a lot of water under that bridge, no pun intended, or through that culvert, through those culverts, right?
Well done.
Yeah. Any other questions for Matt or Cheryl?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the clarification.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. If we are ready to move on, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 7, appearing on pages 41 through 66.
I so move.
Support.
Discussion, anything in particular you have questions about, commissioners? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Schmurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Buller.
Yes, the consent agenda is approved as presented. We have one action item under new business. May I have a motion to approve action item number 1 to acquire a right-of-way in Superior Township? Background appears on pages 67 through 69. The motion itself appears on page 45. May I have a motion?
Madam, excuse me, Madam Chair, that upon the recommendation of the Director of Engineering, County Highway Engineer, and concurrence of the Managing Director, the board hereby approves the acquisition of a 1,250 square foot public road easement, more particularly described in attachment A, from the property owner, Robert A. Schultz, located upon a parcel of property commonly known as the northeast corner of Harris Road at Geddes Road, Superior Township, Michigan, with a corresponding tax identification number of J-10-26-300-006 in the amount of $200.
May I have a second? Second. Thank you. Discussion. Any questions at all on this action item? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Schmurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes. Action item is approved as presented. We will move on to the reports. I see that we have County Commissioner Caroline Sanders with us. Commissioner Sanders, do you have any comments or questions for us today?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't think I have any comments. I do want to share with you some information that is probably going to involve the road commission at some point. And it's not my glory to share, but I'm sharing out of excitement. Senator Jeff Irwin and State Representative Jimmy Wilson delivered $15 million to our county. Well, they actually delivered more than that, but 15 million specifically earmarked for the new East Side Community and Rec Center. And so we're extremely excited about that. It looks like that we should be at our goal, give or take a couple $100,000. So at some point, I'm sure that's going to involve the road commission as they embark on demolishing Cheney and building a new facility for our East Side community members in Superior Township as well as Ypsi Township. So we're pretty excited about that and just wanted to share that out with you. As always, your meetings are chock full. I can't keep up, but it's always good to hear the new information that you're providing, and it's good to see when our residents take advantage of public comment. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. Anyone have questions for Commissioner Sanders?
Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
McCollum.
I just want to say thank you, Commissioner Sanders, for supporting the rec center. That's been a long time coming for the East Side, and we are all excited over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll let you go on that point. Next, we'll move to the report of the road commissioners, starting with Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On June 21st, I attended the MDOT interactive session regarding US 23, which I found very useful. Also saw Mr. Leif there as well. And on June 22nd, I attended a workshop involving equity, diversity, and inclusion. It was really a workshop about risk management.
Whose workshop was it?
That was offered by the Ann Arbor Ypsi Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And it was well attended. I would really like to see that presentation part of a workshop for anyone here who either hires or promotes. It's not what you think it is. It's really more about risk management. And anyone who's concerned about risk management really ought to hear the presentation. It was offered by the law firm Miller Canfield. And I'd like to see that one day be a workshop presentation. It was eye-opening. About 2 hours long.
Might be a good recommendation for the highway conference next year.
I would say so.
We're doing side eyes here, people who can't see us. What else?
And that's it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Green. Commissioner McCollum.
Yes. So on June 21st, I attended the chat session. I had one person. And on June 21st, I also attended the MDOT US 23 Improvement Project Study. I actually went to the Lawrence Morris building and saw the layout that they had. They had a very good layout, and they actually had videos, and I was able to talk to people about it and ask questions. So they did a good job, and I know they're continuing to do that to let the public know what's down the line. So I reviewed for the commissioners committee that I'm on, I reviewed 22 presentations from various road commissions. And I picked two to discuss the annual at the annual County Road Commission seminar. This was by far a difficult task to pick only two. I could have easily just closed my eyes and point to two of the presentations because all of them are a 10. I ended up choosing the Saginaw one. It's a drone inventory bulk materials presentation. And I picked the Midland one using the BDL to gain a CDL presentation. I did send the presentations to each board member so that you can see in detail what the road commissions did. It's really phenomenal. And I did pick a third one from Kalamazoo. They have a dual broom tractor, which I thought was great. That they put two brooms on the tractor instead of one, because I think that would be more efficient, and they thought so too. And so I just had a good time doing that. And that's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Yamas.
I reviewed all legislative updates and was really struck by the transportation increases that happened that finally passed, which is excellent, 8.1% increase, which would equal up to a 497 million, I believe, right? Thousand, whatever. I didn't read that, but I know that's 8.1%. I also reviewed the priorities for working drafts by the CRA,
The legislative priorities.
the legislative priorities, which were very interesting to me. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yamas. Commissioner Schwers.
Today, July 5th, I attended my first virtual chat. We did not have anyone, so it was uneventful, but at least I attended the first one. That's all I have.
Thank you for being present. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. I will report that on June 21st, I too attended the Washtenaw area MDOT's open house about US 23 improvements. They had several options, all of them very interesting. It's beyond me how they'll ever get them done without traffic going, without some problems with congestion and detours and such, but they had lots of interesting ideas to share. I also attended the Washtenaw Area Transportation Study meeting that morning, otherwise known as WATS. I'd like to draw attention, as Commissioner Yamas did, to the recently released draft County Road Association 2024 legislative priorities. They were circulated by our General Policy Committee Chair, Scott Marilat, who is Managing Director of the Lenawee County Road Commission, which is part of our Southeast Council. Please take some time to review them, comment on them, and make recommendations for additional priorities to Mr. Marilat or to our legislative person in CRA, Ed Noyola, or the Executive Director, Denise Donahue. And then in light of the increasingly close calls and fatalities of our road workers, I've requested consideration of adding a plank in our legislative priorities about enforcement of work zone restrictions. There's some pending legislation. I don't remember. Did that get approved and signed by the governor for monitoring on MDOT projects?
For the automated work zone
Yes.
enforcement. I'm not sure whether that got signed by the governor.
There was a lot happening there in the closing hours of June session. So I'll be monitoring that. Also, the legislative priorities are put forward at the annual meeting highway conference, which will occur typically next March, is where those are approved. They're pretty well baked by the time they get to the general meeting of the highway conference. So know that we've got a window of time to study those, make recommendations based on what we see in the field with our staff, with our workers, to make sure they reflect what we need and desire to have legislatively imposed. I want to make compliments to our communications manager, Tiffany Oliphant, and office coordinator, Aaron Smith. on the formatting of the township update that goes out periodically. They are visually beautiful, very appealing, packed with information, but they never feel overwhelming, and they certainly could, depending on how it was presented. Also want to thank Operations Director Adam Lape and his staff for getting the 20 township agreements in across the finish line, and for all the regular postings of project updates, especially the photographs. I think those are very helpful for the public to see progress being made and to go, oh, okay, they are doing work on that project. Also, a few friendly reminders. Commissioners, please check the CRA website for upcoming CRA committee meetings if you are interested in them and or if you serve on them. There are also association events posted there. And on August 7th of this year, we will be hosting the Southeast Council meeting once again downstairs in the assembly room. So that's always a wonderful opportunity to show off our facility and make people feel welcome. That concludes my report. I will turn this over now to the managing director for her report, staff reports, and any other updates. The staff reports appear on pages 70 through 76 of the packet. Cheryl.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Fuller. I'll start by asking if anyone has questions about the staff reports. All right, just a couple quick things from me, and then I'll hand it over to staff. Next week, both Adam Lape, Matt McDonnell, and I will be meeting with Scioto Township. They have a new township manager. So we will be meeting her.
Who's going again?
It will be Adam, Matt, and myself.
Okay. What is her name?
Oh, Joyce Parker. Thank you. All of a sudden, I was just drawing a complete blank on that one.
And she is their new manager?
Permanent. She's been hired as opposed to Mark Thompson was an interim
Right.
consultant to sort of bridge that gap between managers.
Okay.
But Ms. Parker has actually been hired as the township manager. And that's recent, so she's brand new. So we thought it would be, given that what I mentioned earlier, that close relationship that we need to have with each of our townships, that it would be nice to go over and introduce ourselves. So that'll be next
Is she from
Tuesday.
here? Do you know, is there a bio posted? And
Her bio, I believe it is posted.
Okay.
She was with the Michigan Municipal.
Oh,
I do believe she has been, I think, a city manager in the past. I'm not sure about a township manager, which of course, city governance is different than township governance. But we look forward to working with her.
that's great. Okay.
And then on next Wednesday evening at the working session for the county board, we will be presenting on the what we're hoping will be the renew and restore of the county road and non-motorized millage. That will be Coy Vaughn and myself who will be presenting. Again, that's at 5:30 is their working session.
And that renew and restore, you will be requesting to appear on a ballot next year.
We are correct. We are requesting what we're now just simply referring to as the state primary ballot, because currently I believe it is scheduled for August of 2024 with the understanding there is a chance it could be moved up to June of 2024. But that is to avoid the general election ballot in November because County Parks has other millages that they are looking to have renewed, I believe, and have asked that they not be competing against each other. So we would like to be on the state primary ballot.
And that millage has been passed successfully twice.
Twice from the voters,
Yes,
correct?
by a 2-to-1 margin, if I remember correctly.
Oh, in excess of that, 70-some%.
All right. Something to look forward to next year.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Commissioner Green.
thank you. So the millage question will be on the primary ballot as opposed to the general ballot?
That will be our request. This is a working session to introduce the county board to the road and non-motorized millage, since some of them were there from the inception. Some of them were there for our first ask for renew and restore, and some of them have never seen this before. So we are trying to cover a broad gap with respect to experience, with respect to the county commissioners. And certainly answer any questions that they may have. But one of the things that we'd like to point out is that it has been very successful. And it was passed by 70 some odd percentage the last go around. All but one precinct, I believe, approved it. So it is a very popular millage amongst our residents. At the end of the day, it's due to expire at the end of 2024. We do not see any increased funding coming from anywhere. In fact, if anything, it's decreasing with electric vehicles and the current, gas tax funded the way that it is. So we think we've done very good things with the county millage, but unfortunately, we also think we need to have the county millage continue for at least another 4 years, and that will be the ask.
Given the history, that fewer people tend to vote at primaries, is that a concern?
I don't believe that that is a concern. We have been on the primary or the state primary ballot in the past. The last go around, we were on the August 2020 ballot. And that's when we were highly successful.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Yamas, did you? No, I'm having, all right. Anyone else? No, okay.
This is just the working session. When we come back from the working session, hopefully if we're, if it's looking optimistic, yeah, exactly. We will be asking, staff will be asking would be that this board pass a resolution formally asking that that be placed on the ballot, but we need a little bit more information and think it's only fair to introduce the county board to this topic before the formal request comes from this organization.
And is this your annual update to the Board of Commissioners?
We've been providing them not necessarily an in-person update, but
Right.
we have been sending the annual report and reporting annually on the millage as well. So
Right.
they get both our general annual report as well as the one related to the millage each year.
All right,
Any other questions for me?
don't see anything.
All right. With that, I'm happy to, Dan, we're starting it off with Dan Ackerman, our Director of Finance and IT.
Good afternoon, Board. Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT. I'd like to start by talking about Michigan Transportation Funds. So if you would go to the last page of your packet, give you a moment. And so we always look at Michigan Transportation Funds. Obviously, it's the main source of revenue for the Road Commission. And we found a decent comparison is to look at a month-by-month comparison and year-by-year. So in this case, if we look at May of 2023 compared to May of 2022, you'll see a nice jump of 22%. So whenever there's an anomaly, and I would consider this an anomaly, either significantly higher or lower, I place a call to someone I know at the state of Michigan to say, why? A lot of times they may say people are driving more or less, but in this case, the huge increase was caused by apparently one vendor in a timing issue. So one vendor's March and April, I guess, gas tax collection, $32 million. And so maybe that's one reason, and this is statewide too, not just for the road commission, statewide 32 million. So obviously a big vendor, they didn't say who it was.
So wait, a vendor, you're talking a gas?
Gas station, I'm assuming, right?
Ah,
I have no idea how they collect all these funds. I probably don't want to know. But I was staggered that they could say one vendor and 32 million for 2 months.
Yeah.
And obviously it had an impact. If you look at the previous few months, they were lower. So, that kind of explains that. So, again, 22% increase, we'll take it. If it was every month, that would be great. Certainly we don't want to count on that. And, we stick to looking at all 12 months and trending. And, I feel like obviously the way it tracks for our budget is fine. But, but for May, we'll take it. And hopefully June doesn't correct what happened in May, who knows? But anyway, we just felt with the 22% increase that we wanted an explanation at least. So any questions on that at all? Okay. So this is budget season for me. And we had our first round of meetings with operations and engineering. And great meeting. Matt and Adam do a great job involving their staff. You know, there are so many line items that they can't possibly monitor all of them. So we give a lot of their staff members an opportunity to chime in and looking at trends again. You know, Jeff Mann, for instance, for fuel prices, he can kind of let us know where we're heading and where we think it's going to be the next couple of years. So we had some good initial discussions. So far, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of changes we'll have to make for this year. Probably the biggest change will be the robust township agreement program that Adam has created for us, which has been we've had a great track record with working with the townships, you know, just about the whole time I've been here, I think. So we'll want to make some adjustments for that. We're also looking at 2024 and 2025. And certainly, you know, in 2024, a lot of projects already on the docket. The further you go out, the less that is known. But we'll do the best we can to provide some estimates for the board and just have a conversation. Obviously, we want to make sure that there's a significant fund balance remaining at the end of 2025. So, and all the competing interests that we have as an agency. So trying to get through all that and come up with a budget and projections that we feel comfortable with, and hopefully the board feels comfortable with as well. And that'll be at the next working session that we'll talk about that.
Questions at all about that issue? No. Well, please clarify, Dan, where you account for the possibility of the millage, the countywide millage being adopted.
So the millage is still will still be in the budget for 2024. That's the last year.
Right.
For 2025, we do not have that in the budget conservatively, of course. And, you know, basically until, you know, it gets on the ballot and hopefully is approved, then at that point we would start including it, but probably not before. And it shows up in other revenues, and I can explain that when we have our working session on the budget, where you would see it, and you'll notice a difference because one year it's close to $5 million in that line item, and the next year is close to zero. So
I just wanted to be clear on when you add that in or when you don't add
right,
that in.
exactly, yep.
We do not make any assumptions with respect to funding. It pretty much has to be known.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Green?
If in fact the millage becomes approved, will that be for 4 years as well, or?
Yeah, I believe we asked for 4 years, right?
Well, that is the request.
4-year millage.
That's the request.
The
right?
request will be for a 4-year millage, keeping it at the 1/2 mil, but restoring it back up to the 1/2 mil.
Right.
But basically it'd be the same as what we've done the last 2 times.
Thank you.
I did want to acknowledge Tracy, who handles the payroll, and Jamie, who handles accounts payable for the road commission. We certainly appreciated the extra day of holiday pay, or, you know, we talked about that before. It made a short week for us today as a payday, so they really had to up their timetables and do some extra communication and helped each other out. I tried to assist when I could as well, just to make sure that we paid our employees timely and accurately and paid our vendors and so on. And it was a very successful initiative, and they're cool customers, so no one got too stressed out. We had a good plan in place. They executed the plan, and everything was fine for today. But I just wanted to acknowledge both Tracy and Jamie for all their hard work on that. So. And then also, I can't believe this, but we're working on second quarter reporting to 941s and so on. As far as IT, we had a power hour last week. Talked about our Z Drive migration to OneDrive. We had about 30 employees in attendance. Chris Quinter had an excellent PowerPoint presentation, and he's just really good as far as explaining things and avoiding jargon and so on, so that, you know, if people aren't as versed with computers can understand. So that was a good presentation that we had, and there weren't a lot of questions from employees, but I think a combination of him doing a good job explaining things, as well as when people start migrating to OneDrive, I think we'll get more questions at that point when people start using it. He also sent out a survey for the ergonomic stand-up desks, and 16 employees so far have responded that they would be interested in one, which is great. I believe it's still open for a little while, if others are interested. But the next thing we'll do is we'll talk about how that falls in line with the budget and how we can execute it. But certainly a lot of excitement being generated by the possibility of getting those for the agency. Some new security cameras were installed, and it went from basically 4 views to 11 of our key assets at the Road Commission. Obviously, very important to make sure, you know, we've got a lot of valuable things here, and also, you know, a safety thing for the employees as well. So that's another project that they were able to complete, and you know, I think I said last time they were completing projects as well, so they're really moving along on things. And I can't remember if I mentioned this last time. I might have. I can't. As I get older, I forget things. No one fell for our phishing emails. Did I talk about that last time? I don't remember. So we periodically, it could have been some of you as well that get them, but nobody fell for them. Recently, the phishing emails, which is great. Either we're doing a pretty good job educating the workforce, or, you know, maybe they were too obvious, but that's something that we do on a random basis. And if somebody does fall for a phishing test, you can, you know, send them another test. You could offer some education, just a way to keep your network safe. Sometimes you're only as strong as your weakest link in these cases. So so we'll continue to push, you know, cybersecurity and all that, because it's very, very important.
Do we still have the requirement that annually all of us take that series of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be coming in the next couple of months.
Okay.
Yes, that's going to be an annual thing. Just can serve as a refresher. You have new hires. There's different things that can be incorporated into that, but, you know, it's very, very important to just make sure that people keep their skills up, and you got to keep kind of drilling the points home. You know, don't click on things if they're suspicious, and you know, just to kind of follow best practices.
And that's a condition of our cybersecurity insurance, is it not? Or there's some?
Yeah, I think there's something in there on that. So, but why wouldn't you do that? You know what I mean? So.
Understood. Thank you.
And that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner McCollum, and then Commissioner Yamas.
I was just going to say that the cybersecurity training, I think, is very good, and to have it on a continual basis makes it easier to spot awkward looking emails.
Right.
Even helps with my personal emails too. I can spot them there too.
Yeah, that was a lot of the feedback we received. You know, others, people that went through their training, they said, could we share this with our family members to possibly go through as well? Because I think there were just the way the training, you know, all the short videos and things. I think they, you know, they really have a nice way to educate without, you know, if you're just kind of watching this PowerPoint presentation, you may lose people, but they have little tests and things. And so I think the way the training's conducted is really well done.
Commissioner Yamas.
So I was reading your report, the miscellaneous invoicing that has happened. So that'll be good to find out when those come in. And we did indeed, I see we're approved for the 60%. I don't know if you reported that last time, but it's in here in the general miscellaneous.
The 60%,
The board resolution for the Protecting Michigan program.
not
was
approved yet. It was submitted.
It was submitted.
It was
Okay.
submitted. I've not heard that anything else is missing, inaccurate, incomplete. But we've not actually received official notice that we received the funds yet.
Okay, and so I had another question. Let me just find it here. Oh, the Gallup poll action plan.
Mhm.
How that is going.
Yeah, so that's something that, as you know, the entire workforce took the Gallup polls. And then each department needs to meet with their staff and develop action plans. And in my case, both finance and IT have such different functions with the organization. And I receive feedback from both finance and IT. We're doing separate action plans. But I had our initial meeting and we set some action plans. Our groups are smaller, so we didn't have as much data as maybe some of the other teams have. So we picked what we felt would be the most meaningful for our departments. But there was a great discussion, great dialogue. I want to make sure I wasn't just talking the whole time. So there's really a lot of interactive discussions. And you know, we're taking it seriously, and because this is coming from the employees. Basically, the think tank said, hey, let's, you know, determine the pulse of the organization and where we can improve. And, you know, high marks, low marks, you try not to take it personally as a supervisor, but just look at it as an opportunity to improve. We talked about if you feel you have best practices and you have no room for improvement, then that's a problem too, because it's all about continuous improvement. And so, you know, I feel really good about the initial meetings. We have our action plans. We've got some targets to hit, and looking forward to, you know, getting closer to completing those action plans, and then maybe setting some others. I don't know how many action plans we want to set, but
Yeah, I mean, Dan, like you said, it's really going to be an ongoing process throughout the
Right.
year. We had our general supervisor meeting last week. We were going through with staff the Gallup resources that are available, how to set up the action plans. They are due by the end of this month, every supervisors to have at least one action plan in place with their group, having sat down with the group to establish what the goals of those action plans would be. I know each department's in various stages of where they're at. Adam was just sharing with me this morning that one of our district crews had theirs today, and it was a very productive meeting. So we're sort of in the process of doing that, and it's been interesting. Each one has been different as I'm hearing the feedback from the different meetings as far as the priorities of each of the groups and the level of support that they feel that they're having. But most importantly, it's spurring dialogue, and that's really what we're looking for.
yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
It's a 3-year.
Our Gallup contract is a 3-year contract, yes, but this will be ongoing throughout the next 3 years.
And it's all new to us, which in a way is a little scary, but in a way it's a little exciting too, right? We can get creative with this, and, you know, again, the goal is to, you know, make some meaningful improvements, maybe work closer as a team, and maybe address issues that haven't been addressed maybe for years. So there's a lot of good to come out of it.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have engineering report with Matt McDonnell, our Director of Engineering.
Hello again, Matt McDonnell. Just wanted to give you a quick rundown on projects after the 4th. Hope you all had a good holiday, but that's really when our push for construction season really starts getting a lot of momentum, because we had, if you recall, sometimes we have environmental restrictions where we can't get in streams until after the 1st of July. So we have a number of projects that are gearing up. So with that, I'll just run through things, and if you have questions, feel free to interrupt. We do have Parker Road is one of those structure replacement that involves a water port. Our contractor will be on site starting next week. So that closure has been in place for 2 weeks to allow for utility relocations to occur, and that's progressing nicely. So it should be all set for our contract to get started next week. This week we started Duvarn Road and Court in Ann Arbor Township. That's an SAD with Ann Arbor Township. So that polarization is occurring. So paving should be next week. Speaking of paving, the Michigan Avenue project in Ypsilanti Township, that paving's been delayed until next week. may be this Saturday for a start, but I venture a guess for next week. And hopefully that will wrap up within that week and we can get that road reopened. The Bemis at Whitaker Road roundabout, that storm sewer is being installed. So that's a single lane roundabout at the intersection there. The contractor's on site working and progress is being made, doing well. In Pittsfield Township, we have the Platte Road Greenway, where that's a partnership with our township, where it was a TAP funded project. And that's going nicely. Storm sewer work is wrapping up. Curb and gutter work is scheduled and their paving should be shortly after that.
We're on Platte, Matt.
That is south of Michigan Avenue, right by Township Hall.
Yep.
Ventures down to the soccer fields to the south. We have a lot of local road resurfacing projects, as we indicated in the township agreements. We have great partnerships. This week we'll be working with in Superior Township on both, I believe, Stevens Drives and Sanford. And then finally, we have our bridge preventative maintenance projects. We're doing patching on North Territorial Road over the Huron River. And then also hopefully the epoxy seal coating of the decks will begin here shortly as well. So watch out for your weekly road updates. So that really is a summation of the work going on that we're overseeing in the engineering department. Any questions? Okay, very good.
I have how much interaction do you have or your department have with Eagle? A lot, I assume?
Yes, so whenever we are contemplating a project that may impact or have a permit necessary to get from Eagle, typically we'll do a field visit to make sure we meet with the staff that's going to be administering the permit. It's a great time to talk about what all they're seeing as far as permit requirements and talk about our project needs and schedule and impacts. So we have a very good relationship our staff has developed over time with our Jackson Road, or not Jackson Road. City of Jackson has an office for Eagle, and that their staff is worked very closely with ours.
It's worth noting that the new Eagle director has been appointed.
Mhm.
Bill Roos. He hails from Washtenaw County.
Oh, okay,
So
good. I did not realize that. Thank you for acknowledging that. So we will continue our good efforts to make sure we're working very closely with them, because we are very much in need of securing permits for a lot of our projects, especially particularly our culvert and bridges.
questions for Matt? I see none.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
And last but certainly not least, we have Adam Leip, our Director of Operations.
Good afternoon, Adam Leip, Director of Operations. Some exciting news last week, chip seal season, or excuse me, chip seal itself, portion of the seal coat project for the year completed last Thursday. So regrouping now in the next few weeks, we'll start fog seal and start finishing up the project. So the second half of the season will start. Local road program aggregate spreading, that will resume next week. We've spent time with family and friends, kind of enjoying a little bit of a mid-season break here, and recent rains, just trying to concentrate on the areas of concern that we've had throughout the long weekend we had. So kind of finishing that up this week, and then we will be back at it shortly. And that is my update, if there aren't any other questions.
Understanding that we're closed on Fridays, so this is a really short week.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Very short. So a lot of people are enjoying, longer holiday and taking well-earned vacation. So we're okay being short-staffed for a couple of days, let everybody see their friends, family, and I enjoyed it myself, taking a couple extra days. So
I assume everybody's drinking a lot of Gatorade out there on the job and.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, so we're pretty good. Take water jugs out when we have
Yeah.
bigger projects. We take large jugs out and full ice bags, and so we have all the drink mixes. We have a lot of options for everybody.
good, good. Anything? Commissioner Smers?
I was wondering if you've had any issues with any workers out there with the air quality in the last couple weeks.
Smoke.
We talked about it a little bit, but quite frankly, most of them are kind of robust and we're good, and so no one's really shown any side effects from it. So we're pretty cautious though and pretty aware of everybody when we're out there. With chip sealing alone, in paving year round, smells and the ozone's a little different in your, collective little area. So we're pretty conscious of that. When people start feeling the side effects, they know, and someone usually sees it. That's the one good thing having these large crews. We don't really go out on our own very frequently. So that's helpful. But yeah, nothing.
And we've
particular
also,
at the moment.
I know with our construction inspectors, we've said, if you need to take a break in your truck, please do so, run the air in the truck and all of that. So at least giving them permission to monitor things according to how they themselves are feeling.
Yeah.
And there are pockets, right? So you drive along and it seems clear and fine and boom, I know driving through Lodi Township over
Yeah.
the weekend, it was like I drove through a fog bank all of a
Yeah.
sudden, and then you're out of it.
It's really odd. And a lot of it, some of the like depressions with trees, there's a little bit of filtering. So, some of the dust control the last week or so, before we went on break wasn't bad. You didn't have an issue seeing, but some of the mornings, the air was it looked like it was heavy, but it was actually like smoke. And so a little bit of a challenge when we, thinking you're seeing fog, but so yeah, all in all, health has been okay, thankfully.
Good.
But we're conscious of it. We even touched around a little bit, talking about having a little bit of procedure for this, because in case this does become a scenario we have to deal with routinely, it's something we're gonna have to learn to set procedures up for it.
Right, Craig Timmer's already been outlining official procedures. Since this one's new to us.
This one's new to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But even last week, knowing that it was an issue, we were trying to say, okay, to all the supervisors or to the people like our construction inspectors that are individually on projects, please just know if you need to take a break or if you're feeling any effects to let your supervisor know.
Just can't imagine working in 90-degree heat wearing a mask.
The air gets a little thicker. Yeah. So like I say, we're lucky that it's kind of managing right now, a good status, but hopefully fingers crossed it stays that way, because mask that temperature would be rough.
Yeah.
It'd be hard for some of the physical exertion that we have.
You all have masks available, correct?
We would have to order the actual respiratory like mask, but we do have N95s. We do have a regular mask that we had built out of a stockpile through COVID. So we do have masks if someone wanted them. If there's specific, which I don't know the science behind it, but that's thankfully having Craig on staff of actually which mask, would fit that scenario. We probably have to order some specific to like the smoke itself.
Commissioner Yamas?
So hopefully this isn't going to be an ongoing thing, but I know that the alerts were, if you're going to be outside, you should be wearing an N95 mask. And I don't know if that's going to end up being a safety issue for us or not. If it continues to be air quality, the health department was requesting people wear N95s, or suggesting.
Well, it was a
Yeah,
suggestion. It was not a
Yeah.
requirement.
And that's how Craig outlined a little bit of that to start our conversation, that, we set up the option to have. So at least at that point, we have that for an employee, if they choose that. Yeah, hopefully we don't get to a point where we have to consider wearing them outside. That would be challenging.
It makes for a long day.
Yeah,
My biggest concern is it was on your radar, which it definitely, as you guys saw,
Yeah.
like you have a plan. So
yeah,
that's my
unfortunately, we had to learn quick.
Mhm.
So,
Again.
We're used to that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, challenging, but we make it work.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it from staff.
For you, Sheriff. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is a closed session. May I have a motion to enter into a closed session under section 8D of the Open Meetings Act to discuss the main yard property and M52 property?
I so move. I'm sorry.
Support.
Aaron, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes, we are now in closed session. All set. May I have a motion to return to open session?
I so move.
Support.
Thank you. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Burt Fuller.
Yes, we have now returned to open session. If there's no further business to come before the board, I want to just make a couple of reminders. On July 18th at 9 a.m., we have a working session followed by a board meeting at 1. And also drawing your attention to the fact that in the consent agenda, we changed the August meeting schedule. We now have our working session on August 1st. Formerly, it was on August 15th. So please make a note of that and be prepared to convene at 9 a.m. on August 1st. And then our virtual chat sessions, which occur every Wednesday from noon to 1. Today, Commissioner Smers was the road commissioner on call for that. And on July 12th, it will be Commissioner Green. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Aaron, please.
Commissioner Jeff Smers,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Bart Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.